Well, hello there. Our ability to give powerful, passionate, persuasive presentations set us apart from the crowd and enable us to enhance our reputation, build our significance, and certainly help us be successful in every single area of life. Those who can give presentations, whether it's their own ideas or the ideas of others, certainly help themselves up the ladder of success, regardless of their definition of success. Well, hello there, my name is Peter Thomson. I'm the UK's most prolific information product creator, and over the last 40 plus years since I've been in business, I've been very fortunate to have the opportunity to give many presentations. In the early days when I was building my own business before I sold it and was able to semi-retire at the age of 42, and then over the last 20 plus years helping people to be more successful in a number of areas in life by sharing their knowledge, their experience and their expertise with an ever-growing band of people who are keen to know what they had to share with them. So let's go through this whole idea of how to give powerful presentations. Right at the end of this video, I'll share with you a very simple technique to be able to smash the nerves so we can stand and be confident. To start with then, what we need is a formula, a system, a template in which we can plug ourselves in nice and tight, knowing that it will guarantee our success. Here's a very simple system for sharing what you want to share with other people. It's this: why me? Why you? Why this? Why now? This little system of 8 words is the words that are in your recipient's mind. If they're listening to you give a presentation, even if they're reading your information, they're starting off by saying, why me? Why is this for me? And unless we answer that very quickly and tell people why they should listen, then they're not going to listen. So we must explain the benefits for them and, where possible, label them as the ideal recipient of this information. Imagine for a moment that you stood on stage and said, I'm delighted to have this opportunity to share some powerful information for those who are fellow pet iguana lovers. Fellow pet iguana lovers? Yes. Just imagine what this would do. It would probably switch off 99% of the crowd. However, the 1% of people who are also, not that I am, fellow pet iguana lovers would listen more intently than they would listen to most other things. This labeling effect is incredibly powerful and needs to take place before we give our presentation, not later on. So point 1, we must answer the question in somebody else's mind, why me? Most people have the question, why me? Or it might be, is it for me? Is this information I'm about to hear, is it for me? Well, we want to change the question, is it for me, into a statement, it is for me. So do this early on. Do it in the introduction if you're introducing yourself. Now, as a side note, if you're not introducing yourself, get someone else to introduce you, and this is the formula to teach them to do it. Who, why, what, and welcome. So, who you are, why you are asked to speak. In other words, this establishes your credibility. It talks about your history. It talks about what you've done, what you know, who you know, etc. It builds your credibility before you speak. And then what you're going to speak about without giving away the ranch, and then welcome you to the stage. So who, why, what, welcome. If you're not being introduced, we've got to do this bit for ourselves. So we're going to start off by engaging the audience, by telling them why the information is for them, and then we're going to talk about ourselves. Now that seems a bit strange because people say, well, you don't want to talk about yourself. Yes, you do. Because until you establish your credibility as the author of the information you're about to share, and you might be somebody who's had results that you're sharing, or you might have done some research, or you might even be reporting on people that you've met and interviewed. Whichever stance you're taking here, you've still got to state your credibility. Why? Because the old expression states you have to be heard to be believed, but it's wrong. You have to be believed to be heard. So, why me? Now we've answered the second question, why you? So why me? Oh, now I know why I should listen. Now I know why I should listen to you. Now you're going to give me a brief synopsis of what you're going to talk about. Back to the old idea of public speaking. Tell them what you're going to tell them it and tell them what you told them. So now we've got to tell people what we're going to talk about. But briefly, and of course it's got to be engaging. It's got to be laced with curiosity. So people's minds are open, ready to listen to your ideas. So that's the why this. And then, of course, we need to tell people why now. Why is now the right time for them to listen to this information? So wherever possible, we want to make it current. Now, I've made a load of notes here on my paperwork so I can just glance down and share these ideas with you. And again, I would suggest you can do something similar when you're giving a speech. One of the most powerful ways of speaking when you're giving presentations is using the rhythm of threes. Let me give you an example, perhaps in the introduction. Today I'm going to share with you some proven ideas on how to give powerful presentations, how to engage your audience, and finally, how to smash those nerves right on the head once and for all so that you feel totally confident, calm, and connected. You see, there was another rhythm of threes. We'll even use this rhythm of threes right at the end in order to close the presentation or speech that we're giving. I believe what we need to do is to create a route map so we can explain to people where we're going. And in that route map, we want to create the theme or the glue or the metaphor that we're going to be using in order to engage people. People love stories. Tell your own stories. Tell authentic stories. Tell a story that may well link to the topic you're going to be talking about. Let me give you an example. Recently, I was running a webinar. And on the webinar, I started by holding up a picture. And this was a picture, and I'll just mime it. Here was a picture of a young man halfway up a mountain. And I said to the people who were on the webinar, do you know who this is? And in fact, nobody did. And I wasn't surprised that they didn't because it was an unusual thing. I then put up the man's name, and his name was Alex Honnold. Alex Honnold. And I said, does anybody know the name Alex Honnold? And a couple of people said yes, that they did. And I then went on to tell the story of Alex Honnold, who free climbed El Capitan in Yosemite Park, 3,000 feet. Now, free climb means no team, no ropes, no nothing, except a small bag strapped to his back full of powder to keep his fingers dry. This is claimed to be, not by him, but by others, the outstanding athletic event of all time. Why? Because if Alex had made one mistake, he'd have fallen off and died. I then used that idea, that metaphor of mountain climbing throughout the presentation, talking about starting at base camp and reaching the next level and finally getting to the summit, and how that even the best climber in the world, other than Alex, needs a team behind them, because that was the theme of where I was going. So you can see by using a powerful story with all the details makes it come to life for people and they get it. So we want to use a theme, which could be a glue, a story, a metaphor. When we're delivering our content, to separate ourselves from those who only talk about what, we need to tell people what it is that they need to know from us. We need to tell them why it works, and we need to tell them how to use it. It's a very simple process, isn't it? You see, let me give you another 6 questions you can think about when you're weaving the theme of your presentation. Where are your audience now? How did they get to that point? Where are they going in the future? Why do they want to go in that direction? What are the obstacles that will stop them achieving their goal? And what do they need to do in order to achieve it? So let me share with you one of the most powerful ways of engaging your audience. And this will seem counterintuitive, but trust me, having been a professional presenter for probably the last 35 plus years, it absolutely works. It's based on the work of Robert Cialdini. But I only found that out having come up with the idea myself some years ago, and then that was the validation for me. I was going to be giving a presentation to a group of salespeople, and I just wondered how on earth would I engage with them. Surely they'd been sent to this event and they might be a little bit skeptical. So I realised that what I needed to do was to explain that despite my successes and failures over life, and I learned more from the failures than the successes, I didn't have all the answers. So I made this admission of a failing, not a failure, but a failing. So I would stand there and I would say, oh, good morning, my name is Peter Thomson. I'm delighted to be with you and have this opportunity to share with you some tried and tested and proven ideas. There's that rhythm of threes on and whatever we were talking about, which was increased sales. But before we get started, there's one thing I need to tell you. I don't have all the answers. Yes, I've been in business for a fair amount of time, but when we look around the room and we look at the 50 of us, and if we say we've got 20 years experience each, then that's 1,000 years of experience. How could I possibly compete with that? So what I'm going to do today, I'm going to help you take from your mind those ideas that maybe we're not using as often as we might and install them back in the front so we remember to use them. And by that way, we become more successful. Now, and I'm continuing, this is an idea for you. If you have any questions while I'm going through my presentation, just let me know and I'll answer them straight away. What you might do when it comes to the idea of questions in your presentation is you say to your audience, I'm taking questions at the end. Or you can say, I'll take them throughout the presentation. The choice is entirely yours. If you get asked a difficult question, all you need to do is take it out of the arena by responding to somebody and say, that's a powerful question. That's a detailed answer I'm going to have to need to give to that one. So what I'll do is I'll see you afterwards and I'll answer it for you then in detail. And then you diffuse the situation. At the end of your speech, you're going to have to do a call to action, a CTA as it's called. And the best way to do that is with the rhythm of threes. And I'm going to give you a three-ended close in a minute. But tell people exactly the steps they need to take in order to get the outcomes that they came to you for in the first place. That's a great idea. Tell them clearly. And if you can do it in a series of threes, so we'll need to do this, we'll need to do this, and we'll need to do that. So that rhythm, it feels natural. And when you come to the very end of your presentation and you do the closing, this is what you do. You again use the rhythm of threes by picking on one word or one theme to repeat 3 times. Let me give you an example. Well, it's been a pleasure to be with you today. It's been a pleasure to share these ideas, and I know it'll be a pleasure to hear about your successes in the future. Thank you. Now, some people have said to me, other professional speakers, that you don't like to say thank you at the end of their presentations. I do, because I like to thank the audience for their attention throughout my presentation. So there is a reasonable, simple summary of how to give powerful, persuasive, and passionate presentations. Now let's talk about nerves. How do we get over the nerves of public speaking? Well, the first thing we have to be really careful with is the words that we say in our minds about being nervous. Because if we continue to run that program that says that a person is nervous, and you see I didn't want to put that in the first person, then obviously we're reinforcing that thought. We don't want to be saying anything. We want to be saying, I'm feeling more confident. Right? Maybe you may not be at the point where you want to say, I am confident. But that's where we need to get to. Why? Because long-term change happens at the identity level. And the identity level verb is the verb to be. In other words, I am. I am a confident, caring, another word beginning with C, presenter. So that's the first idea, is run the right programs in this, what somebody once told me, which I thought was a lovely expression, my neck-top computer. Run the right programs. This is the second idea, and this is incredibly powerful, and I've used it all my life, is to write goals for every time you're going to give a presentation, whether it's standing and speaking, sitting and speaking, whatever it might be. Just write your goals, however, in a slightly different way. Instead of writing goals about your outcome, write the goals about your audience's outcome. So you're totally focused away from you, which diminishes the nerves, in fact makes them go away, when you focus totally on the benefits you can deliver for somebody else. If you write the goals out, sign them and date them, then you're programming your mind for the outcome that you want for them, and the better outcome you get for them, the better outcome you get for yourself. Now a fine little idea, a little presenter's secret. 89% of the population of the world, or thereabouts I'm told, is right-handed. 11% are left-handed. And here's a little idea for when you're standing on stage. If you're right-handed, the chances are that when you think about the future, you think of it either straight in front of you or towards your right-hand side. And you think about the past being on your left-hand side or maybe slightly behind you. Now, if you're stood on stage or giving a presentation into camera and you say, let's go to the future together, from the audience's perspective, it's in the wrong place. So what we have to teach ourselves to do is to talk about the future, even though this feels slightly unnatural for me, to be on my left-hand side, because then it'll be on the audience's right-hand side and it will feel better for them. So just turn it round. If you're left-handed naturally, then you have an advantage, because you'll be able to say, as we go to the future, which probably is on your left-hand side anyway, that's the way that we think about it. So there's a little idea. So let me just summarize here. If we're going to be introduced, then somebody can introduce us by saying who, why, what, and welcome. When we're thinking about our whole speech, we're thinking of answering these questions in the audience's mind. Why me? Why you? Why this? And why now? We need to create a route map which tells people where we're going to be going. And we can use those 6 seemingly simple questions. Where are we now? How did we get here? Or where they are now. How did they get here? Where are they going? Why do they want to go there? What are the obstacles and what are they going to do? Admit a failing early, because this is extremely disarming, and because it's the truth, and it will warm people to you. If you're not introduced, remember you have to talk about yourself to establish your credibility, because you have to be believed to be heard. And tell people not only what, not only why, but tell them exactly how to use the ideas that you're sharing with them, and do a solid call to action using, again, the rhythm of 3s, and then a really powerful 3-ender close. So on that basis, I wish you every success in your journeys in life, as you have freedom from anything that may have held you back, and freedom to be, do and have, another rhythm of 3s, to be, do and have whatever you set your heart and mind upon. It's been a pleasure to be with you. It's been a pleasure to share these ideas. And it'll be a pleasure to hear of your successes using them in the future. From me, Peter Thomson. Goodbye for now.